Good morning. Thanks so much for attending. I'm Marianne Miller. I'm the StayLocal Program Manager, and we've come up with this idea to continue having some marketing webinars that are sort of reaching for some of the low-hanging fruit of some of the marketing pointers that we read about and hear about. One thing that we strive to do in StayLocal's efforts to support independent business owners is bring valuable resources to those who are operating independently and in small or very small shops, or self-employed. And so we've focused quite a bit in the past little while about bigger picture things like pivoting and accessing e-commerce and those kinds of things. We thought today we'd do something that's a little bit more rubber meets the road for folks who have some marketing resources at their fingertips and maybe want to use them better. So StayLocal works to advocate for the voice of independent businesses. We also provide networking opportunities and opportunities for independent businesses to reach consumers and each other. So we hope any questions that come out of today can certainly be directed to our wonderful presenters who both have experience assisting business owners directly. And so that's part of why we invited them here. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. I'll just be pretty informal today because we have a small group. So I'll ask you to unmute yourselves. You're allowed to unmute yourselves. We don't have really a formal time that will take questions. So if you wanted to pop something in the chat to get it off your mind, that's great. I'll read it out of there, but you can also ask. We don't have a raise hand feature today, but you can let us know that you have a question on your mind or unmute yourself. As long as we're not in the throes of a difficult concept right at that moment, I think we should be able to handle it. And also, if there's any technical terms that we bring up, feel free to stop us. Some of what we're going to talk about in terms of digital communication sometimes has that element, and so we're happy to pause and make sure that everyone's on the same page there. So I'm going to introduce both of the folks that are going to help us out today, and then we'll hear first from one of them, and then the other. We'll do a little screen sharing, but it's not too heavy on that part of it. So let's get right into it. Nayita Wilson is the founder and CEO of Envisions Communication and Consulting. Her company provides consulting to small and medium-sized businesses, nonprofits, some government agencies, on public relations and branding, strategic and digital communication. So we're happy to have you with us today. Emily Hingle is a photographer and an author. She covers the music scene throughout the greater New Orleans area, and she is the social media coordinator by day for LCI Workers' Comp, Louisiana Self-Insurers Workers' Compensation Fund, and one of StayLocal's partners. Our other partner in presenting today's webinar is Green Coast Enterprises, and they'll actually be the host location for our pop-up of headshots tomorrow. So that's the sort of part 2 of our series. If you know anyone who is a LCI or StayLocal member who may be interested in receiving the benefit of a complimentary headshot, we do have a couple slots left for tomorrow's session. Nayita, you've certainly worked in so many aspects of branding and communications, and it would be great if you could be the first to speak this morning so we can hear from you.
All right. Thank you so much, Marianne. Can I get the screen sharing capability? And again, and thank you all for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to, join StayLocal and share with your members. I do appreciate it. Thank you, LCI, and all of your partners for, being an ally for small businesses to make sure that, we have the resources that we need to really grow and expand. Hi, Rosalie and Nicole. I hope you all are safe and doing well. Let me pull up my slides. All righty. Like Marianne said, my name is Nayita. I'm with Envisions. We're a PR firm. I won't go into my background. She hit on all of the nuts and bolts. But I do have a few questions for everyone. How many people do you know that have the same first name? If you all thought of any first names, what are some first names that kind of come to mind? If you want to shout them out or maybe drop them in the chat. I know it's a very, we're informal.
Same first name as you or ourselves?
In general, how many people do you know who have the same first names with some common first names?
Adam.
Adam. Any common last names?
Probably
John
Smith or something. Johnson.
Smith. Right. So, I mean, there are a lot of first names and there are a lot of common last names, but is it really common for someone to have the same first and last name? And then when we're talking about headshots, what about the same face? How many people do we actually know that have the same face? You know, it's a weird, but according to the Social Security Administration, over the last 100 years, the top 3 male names are James, John, and Robert. The top 3 female names over the last 100 years are Mary, Patricia, and Jennifer. So of course I wanted to do my own survey. So I scanned my phone to see how many Roberts, Johns, and Jameses that I know. Don't judge me. These are all professional or family connections. So I knew, I think in my phone, and again, these are only the Roberts that are in my phone. I had about 9. There were about 12 Johns in my phone, about 2 individuals with the name James. There were about 12 Jennifers in the phone. There are about 5 Patricias and about 11 Marys. And when I thought about it, there are at least 3 to 5 more Marys that I know that are not in my phone. So I guess when we talk about, you know, branding and marketing, you know, most people have similar names. Some people have similar names, but some things that the differentiators are our business names, our logos, and then of course the executives, the leaders who are actually driving those businesses. And as much as we want our businesses and our brands to be prominent and to be visible amongst our specific market, we also need the executives, the leaders, the individuals driving those brands to be equally visible, especially at the start out phase. We have different types of businesses. Some businesses are very profitable and the CEOs and executives are very, very low profile. But then we have some businesses that are very, very high profile and the leaders are very, very high profile. And then we have those businesses and entrepreneurs that fall somewhere in between. So here are a couple of Johns that we all know, you know, that some of us may know. John Legend, John Cena, John Travolta. They're all big in Hollywood. Their faces are different. Their brands are very, very distinct and very, very different. However, they're recognizable. And we can easily connect and associate them based upon who they are, based upon what they look like, based upon their image and the image that they've built up over the years. And the same with Jennifer. We have J-Lo, Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Hudson. All of these are prominent entrepreneurs with very distinct brands, but they have similar names, but it's the thing that really makes them stand out. And the one thing that makes them stand out is their persona, their identity, who they are as individuals. And so I found this and I thought it was very appropriate for what we're talking about. It more or less talks about facial recognition in the way that we know it. The facial recognition that may be on your cell phone, the facial recognition that may be that law enforcement may use. And it basically says that face recognition is a method of identifying or verifying the identity of an individual using his or her face. Face recognition systems can be used to identify people in photos, videos, or in real time. So here's the deal. If law enforcement and Apple, they want to use facial recognition for surveillance and security purposes, how much more can entrepreneurs use headshots and personal branding and images to be recognizable in the marketplace among targeted audiences, among potential investors and clients? So the headshot, it really does matter. So I have one question is, who is this individual right here on my right? And I mean, this is probably the most popular person on LinkedIn. So I asked the question earlier, how many people do we know who have the same face? Well, according to the book of LinkedIn, there are thousands, possibly millions of people who look like this little shadow right here on the right. And so this is, of course, an icon that people typically use when they don't put up a photo on LinkedIn. So is that in the best interest? I would argue that it is not, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to make some connections, especially on LinkedIn or any social media platform for that matter. And the same kind of carries over to Zoom and the online digital platforms that we're using, and I'll talk about a little later. But again, evidently there are a lot of people who have the exact same face. So what exactly is a headshot? A headshot is a high quality professional photo that prominently puts it prominently features and puts all of the focus on you, your face, your identity. It's not a logo, it's actually a branding tool. It's a tool that helps to brand you, where all of that focus is drawn to you. You're front and center. And sometimes as entrepreneurs and CEOs, we don't always want to be at the forefront. You know, we want people to know and to recognize our brand. We want them to see that Coca-Cola logo and then just invest in it. Or we want them to see that Nike brand and not even be concerned about who's driving it. But that's good if you're Coca-Cola and you're Nike and you've arrived to the level of entrepreneurial quote unquote success for that market. But if you're just starting out, if you're a new beverage firm or a new sneaker or a new apparel company, your CEO has to be at the forefront, and it may take some time to arrive to that level. So here are four key areas that I really want to focus on when we talk about headshots: the branding aspect, perception, approachability, and then of course the digital presence. And so when we talk about, you know, the purpose of a headshot and some best practices, well, the first and foremost, we want to definitely hit on branding. Using your headshot as a unique identifier. It's one of the things that makes you stand out on LinkedIn. When you have that high quality, that high profile look, you're communicating an image of professionalism at a higher level. And especially if you're wanting to stand out in a market, or if you've identified a particular niche area that you can actually work and no competitors have actually penetrated that particular market, then the field is kind of wide open for you to step in and to really dominate in that area. But it's going to require you as the CEO, as the leader of that company, to step out and to become recognizable. And so an image, a photo, a high quality headshot can be one way to do that. It also makes sure it gives the appearance of approachability. If you have a nice shot where you're smiling and you don't necessarily have a mean mug and it looks like, oh, this looks like someone that I really want to connect with, then there's a possibility that someone may scroll down LinkedIn, or they may see that you're a potential connect and you work in a field or an area that they may want to learn a little bit more about, and you have that nice profile picture up, and then they may send you that request to connect with you. Sometimes we get requests from people we know, and then sometimes we get requests from people we don't know. At the end of the day, it's really up to us to vet the individuals that we accept into our social networks. But we also have to know that when we work to proactively build an image into a professional image that will help to propel our businesses and our brands, that we expect that people will want to connect with us, because that's what we're wanting to accomplish. But not having that photo, maybe perhaps keeping that icon, that shadowy figure, and not putting a nice quality image up, it could perhaps make it appear as though you're elusive or you're engaging, that you just have a social media profile and you don't necessarily want to connect. So I have a close a friend slash mentor. We've been friends for, well, she mentored me when I was in high school, and we've stayed connected. And I know recently she completed a PhD program, and she's vetting newer opportunities. So one of the recommendations was, hey, if you're going to vet these new opportunities, you need to upgrade that LinkedIn profile. You need to make sure that image looks like that professor that these universities or these institutions are wanting to hire. Not having that, especially if you're just sending a blind email to connect, or a blind request to connect with someone, but there's no photo up, I know the first thing that I'm going to think is this a legitimate person? Is this someone who's trying to scam me? Of course, I'm going to go out and do some more research, but if you have a photo up, you lessen the barrier of rejection, or you lessen the chances of someone not wanting to connect with you, and you increase the likelihood of them perhaps connecting with you in those particular places. Another thing that a headshot can do with you is that it can actually communicate a positive perception, whereas not having a photo or not having a professional quality photo can perhaps, whether we know it or not, can perhaps communicate some some messages, may perhaps send some messages that are inconsistent with who we are as professionals, and it may be inconsistent with who our what our businesses are and what our businesses do. And I found some research that I'm going to share with you. It also communicates a level of legitimacy, and first impressions are everything. So we live online right now. You know, social distancing has really put put some obstacles that we are working to overcome as it relates to networking. And so now we have more things at our disposal, more ways to connect with people. And so we may not necessarily be able to go into the national the luncheon or the happy hour or the networking reception like we would. But if you're participating in Zoom calls, if you're advocating a particular topic and you find yourself in a room with people who you've never worked with before, and there could possibly be some potential opportunities, then how do we do that? But how do we increase our digital presence? So one thing you can do is we can turn our cameras on. And if our cameras are not on, we can make sure that we have a nice high quality image, a high quality profile photo that people can see. I know I can tell you on a number of occasions, I've been on Zoom calls, and the individuals who have profile pictures up, I'm Googling. I'm wanting to know, who are these individuals? I'm intrigued. What do they do? What businesses are they in? And then the individuals that just may have their name up or just that blanket black box up, unintentionally, I kind of just kind of gloss over them, because it's that photo that's talking to me. It's that image that has really captured my attention, and I really want to know more about that individual. So even though it may not be it may not be an active form of engagement, even having a profile picture up versus having that icon up or that black box up, you are engaging people. You are capturing people's attention, and they're looking and they're wanting to know more about who we are as entrepreneurs. So I found this research by Headshots Inc., and I thought this was phenomenal. This particular company, they conducted a study that surveyed 243 people. They used 3 subjects, and for each of the subjects, they used an old non-professional photo, and then they used a professional photo of that person. And they asked the 243 random participants to scale them on competence, likability, and influence on a scale of 1 to 10. Overall, the participants ranked the more professional photos higher. So the thing that really stood out was that the category that received the greater, higher average impact, old versus new, was in the area of competency, followed by influence, and the one that did not necessarily, it saw an increase, but not at the level of competency and influence, was likability. So if we just focus on competency and influence, how many of us want to be viewed as competent entrepreneurs? How many of us want to be influential, right? How many of us want to be influential in our market? You know, if you positioned yourself to be the go-to in your particular market, then you position yourself to have some influence. And so if people are basing us, if people could possibly judge our competence or our influence based upon a photo. So, and this is without having spoken with us, without having transacted business with us. It speaks volumes. Of course, these were the things that this particular research group chose to focus on. I'm sure they could have focused on more, but I think this speaks volumes. And just in a practical way, what are some ways that we can use the photo to get ahead? And so one thing is, of course, and I know Emily will talk about this at greater length and in more detail, but, get that photo taken. And how, I know sometimes people want to know, well, if I get a professional photo shot, how often should I take it? Consider changing it at least once a year, depending on what industry you're in. Some industries change the photos more regularly. If you're in real estate, if you're in the movie industry, if you're in the lifestyle marketing where your persona and your personality and your appearance is what's really bringing in the dollars every day, then you'll see those individuals changing their photos pretty regularly. Now, how does that carry over though to the entrepreneur that may be service based or sales based or product based? So for us, we may have to we may need to make sure that our branding is a little more consistent, because our goal is to one, have a presence, but we also need to become recognizable. Remember, we're working to raise our visibility in our profile. And so we want an image that if you see me on LinkedIn today, and if I see you at a networking event, or if I see you at a festival next week, or in the grocery store the week later, you can make the connection that, oh, this is a person, this is a person that I'm looking to connect with. But if we're changing our look or our appearance on a more regular basis, it may be a little hard for people who we're working to cultivate or to establish relationships. As every time they see us, our appearance is different. It may be hard for them to really hone in on who we are as individuals. So we want to be identifiable. Should the photo be corporate or casual? It depends. Do you want a corporate client or do you want a casual client? So, doctors, if I'm looking for a base of attorneys, I need to dress the part. That's just plain and simple. If I'm looking for a more casual client, then I may not always go into that meeting as in my most corporate attire. I'll keep it professional, but I may be a little relaxed some. Another thing to think about as you take, whether or not, these headshots matter is, once you put that image out there, or if you fail to put that image out there, one or two things can happen. One, the image that you put out or the image that you don't put out, what could potentially cause others to define you. However, as we become proactive and we take control of our image and we, manage the direction that we want our brand or our personal professional image to go in, then you begin to define who you are to others. It's the image that you're projecting, and that visual communication is sending a message, and preferably it's the message that we wanted to send. It's okay. I know I have one client, she took a lot of photos, and she was about to branch into something new. And it was a beautiful photo. It was fun. And, but we're in that stage of building her brand, building her image, and she wanted to change it up. And I said, this is not the time. This is my recommendation, is that this is not the time for us to go in this direction. We want to continue to use the photo and the image that we're using. And the other thing is that the photo that we're using, it communicates a more corporate look. You're looking to go to a higher level. And another thing is, if we put this fun photo out and someone picks it up for something that's totally unrelated, and they put that in a news article versus the photo that we really want to be in that news article, we put that out there. So it's really on us. So she was like, wow, I never thought about it like that. Let's pump the brakes and stick with the photos that we're using now. However, if in fact she does, and there will be opportunities for us to use that fun photo, but now may not be the time for that. And again, like I said earlier, new entrepreneurs, low profile entrepreneurs, my recommendation is that, you start out with at least one photo that's consistent with who you are today and the brand that you're building today. And I found, I'll just end with on this. If we wanted to be the president, we see all different images of the President Biden throughout different stages of his life. However, the photo and the image is who he was at that particular point in time. So if you want to be the president, if you want to be the king of pop, if you want to be the queen bee, who you are today, your image of today is relevant for the brand that you're building at this particular time. So again, it's been my pleasure. My name is Naitza Wilson, and that's all that I have. And this is a good way to contact me. Thank you.
You have given us so much to think about, and that was super entertaining. So thank you. But also informative and serious. But I think that the photos you chose were more entertaining than I was expecting. I was sitting here smiling to myself. But I've really thought about a couple times about some of the things you said about having multiple photos. And so maybe we'll get a chance to talk in the end. I apologize earlier. Folks were not able to unmute themselves. And so when you asked those great questions at the beginning of your presentation, if we had hands up, we would have seen, but we're virtual, so we couldn't see all the hands up that wanted to answer your question of common names. So that was my technological problem. Sorry. Emily, I think what's great about how you're going to take your presentation a little differently is you're going to show some examples, right, of kind of like sort of the website way that a lot of us are used to seeing a group of photos. And so maybe we'll see photos more in context as a team of people. So why don't you take it away and let me know if you need to screen share. Emily Hingle.
Great. I am going to screen share a little bit later, but I think I actually have the ability to do that. So we'll see. So what I wanted to talk about, I'm going to overlap a lot with the former presentation because what you need to know about photos of you and for your business is that it makes people so much more comfortable with working with you because they can put a face to the company. It's just something that's natural, saying, oh, if I know what the person looks like and I have a sense of them because I'm a good judge of character, then I feel a lot more comfortable speaking to them about certain things. For example, for LCI's website, and we do workers' comp insurance, so people come to us when they or one of their employees has had some kind of accident, so they really don't want to talk to us usually. Our Meet the Team page is our third most visited page on our website every single month, behind the just landing page that you come on and making your monthly payment. So that's pretty amazing. And I believe that people go to the Meet the Team page because they enjoy finding that one person who's going to be able to solve their very particular problem. People would rather not just email some random email like info@company.com. They don't know where that's going to go to. They don't want to call a front desk and say, well, this is my problem. I don't know who I should be calling. So it's a lot easier for them to go on the page. Okay, here's the auditing department. Here's this person. He's the assistant manager. Here's his desk phone number. Here's his email. Let me email him. So that's very important. And because we don't just have a listing with names and positions, we have the photos with it and a short bio as well. I think that puts a lot of people at ease. Our Meet the Team page, actually, at first, when I first started, got the analytics going about a year ago, was a little bit farther down. But I think as we've pushed the page and I've written content about our employees, like with little take fives and biographical articles, people have learned, okay, I can find exactly who I'm looking for and get my problem solved through this page. And a staff directory page can also be used to convey a certain feeling about your company, a certain confidence you have about your company. And I think that is imparted on people when they go to visit it. It's like we don't have to hide behind this wall and this website. And again, these emails that don't even have human names attached to them. We're confident in ourselves and we can show ourselves off to you. So it's professional and it's engaging and it's confident. So let me see if I can show you some examples. Okay, yeah, you do have to let me share my screen. Okay. There we go. So I'm actually going to start with LCI's page here. As you can see, we have our chairman here, and they're pretty well known. We go then to our managers, and then to other people in our company. Now, a lot of these photos were taken over different years in different places, but so some of them do look different. That is a problem. You want them to have a very consistent look, but they look consistent enough for now. And again, money wise, because we have over 30 employees, so that would be a full day of taking photos. But as you can see, you click on one and it expands, has her phone number, her email, her LinkedIn, and a nice, she has a very large biography, but a nice biography about her, touting her credentials and her education and some fun stuff about them. And that's what we want to convey. We want to convey professionalism with how we look. I like the green in the background because that kind of conveys a Southern feel, a Louisiana feel, and we only work in Louisiana. So it's kind of important. And you'll see most of the men have suits on. We had one gentleman retake his photo recently because he didn't have a suit jacket on and he felt a bit out of place. So some employees, as you'll see, do not have a consistent photo, and it is a much older photo. That's why they're kind of at the bottom, because that's something we don't necessarily want to have. Here's a different company's page. This is a company that renovates office spaces mostly and does other such things. And their photos are very different. So some people have more of that business formal wear. Some people do not. They have t-shirts and sneakers because of their position. So kind of what this does, number one, the difference in clothes is conveys what position they hold in the company. Some people are, well, I guess it's by alphabetical by first name. We kind of did ours by department. That's okay too. But also, as you'll notice, their positions, their seated positions are different. And some are kind of fun and casual positions, and some are not. Like this lady who has her feet over the side of the chair, just very different. Each one has a different chair so that you get a sense of we're a fun company. We're very professional, but we're still fun. You know, we live in New Orleans. AOS does a lot of stuff with the music industry, actually. They support it a lot. They support virtual concerts that are going on. So clearly it's kind of what they want to convey. What is interesting about some of their photos is people weren't around that day, I guess, to take the photos. So they tried to Photoshop a person on a chair in a background. And at first glance, you can't really tell. But once you realize there's no shadow there, you can tell. So again, that's kind of something you'd want to watch out for and not do if you don't have to, or keep it there for as long as you have to, but make a plan on changing it. You know, just again, consistency is key. It shows your confidence and your professionalism. And this is one man who owns a business that he runs out of his house Uptown Benefits. He explains medical insurance benefits. And it's just him, so his Meet the Owner page shows him on his porch at his house, and he's wearing nice clothing, but it's still a little bit casual, and he has his laptop out. And a very long bio and his stuff he likes to do, all of the boards he's on, and again, a cute little puppy dog, but again, nice clothing, and you can tell it's New Orleans because of that. So, you know, what's in that photo is what people are going to initially think about you and your business and what you can provide for them. So, stop share. So my other section is about how to take a really great photo. I know that tomorrow we're not going to have all the resources for us. We're not going to be able to go on our porch and take those kind of cool photos. But the best way to take a headshot, of course, is again, like Naida said, to think about what you want to convey very quickly and immediately to potential clients or current clients. It's best to wear clothing that is earth tone or jewel tone in darker colors, nothing neon, nothing with a very, very busy pattern, because that's just going to really take away from your face and distract from your face, which is where people are naturally going to look towards to gain that trust and that connection with you. Wear flattering clothing, stuff that's, you know, not extremely tight, not extremely revealing. I wouldn't suggest wearing extremely heavy jewelry or earrings or anything like that, unless maybe you're like a jewelry designer, in which case that would make sense. For glasses, I think we're going to get at least 2 or 3 shots of each person tomorrow. Do one with glasses, do one without glasses, so then you have those options. So if you don't have a website, if your business does not have a website, you can still get those photos done, and you can use them on your social media, not just as a profile picture, but you can do posts that are a campaign of meet our employees. Like on a Monday, you can post up, hey, we're going to be introducing you to our staff this week. Here's the first one. Here is Susie Daly, and she does our auditing, and she likes to go running on the weekends. And then in a couple days, do another person. So you can still use them for that purpose. And, you know, I always like to put, if you have any questions about auditing or about this or that, please contact this person. Just again, inviting that communication, and maybe they'll never get a communication from that, but at least people feel like they have the option to do that and to approach people, which is very important. Let me see if I had anything else I really wanted to go over. I think that's it for me. So if anybody has any questions, I guess it's time for that.
All right, and I just wanted to clarify, Nicole's company, Weber Consulting, Lisa is here representing Nicole.
I'm Lisa. Hi.
Hi, Lisa. So we called you Nicole, and I actually, Nicole is someone with an excellent visual reputation. So I know what she looks like and that you're not her, but
Yes.
the rest of us.
Nicole has some beautiful professional photos, but we are actually about to take all new photos for our office. So I just wanted to hop on here and see if I could get any tips, and I did. So thank you so much. But any tips on group photos? We're a small group, but 1, 2, 3, there'd probably be 4 of us in a picture.
All women?
1 man.
1 man. Okay. We take, in our company of 30 something odd people, we do take 1 group shot a year, and that can get a little challenging, as you can imagine. I would just say, again, be consistent, not just, you're either all in a line, like with the one shoulder hanging out and it's the same shoulder, or 2 people facing the other 2 people who are going the same way. Again, something kind of symmetrical and that makes sense in that term, or all seated is what I would suggest.
Naida, anything to add?
Yeah, I would think of, you know, what do you want to communicate? Like, do you want that are you wanting one person in particular to stand out? And if so, making sure that the attire is such that that person stands out and the rest of the team complements that particular individual, branding wise, or is there something that you all are looking to communicate with your brand? Is there a color scheme that you're wanting to communicate? So maybe think some of those things through as well. And definitely location. Always, will you be indoors? Will you be outdoors? Factor in humidity. I actually had a team member. We scheduled some headshots for her. Her shots were beautiful, but when they came through, her hair had puffed up because the humidity just threw a curveball that we weren't.
I know all about that.
Right.
So, right.
Nicole,
So,
the last pictures they took were outdoors, and now she's very adamant about wanting to do indoors because there was squinting.
Mhm.
So, you know.
So that brings me to a question about tomorrow and the photos. Will they be outdoor, indoor? If what about background options, or can anyone talk about
Sure.
a little bit more about what's happening tomorrow?
Absolutely, Rosalie. We're excited that you're signed up. The registration area where we'll have sort of light networking with the ability for us to chat with one another is covered but outdoor. So we wanted to make sure it was rainproof, exactly as we're talking, but that we could achieve social distancing comfortably. People will be, drinking coffee or taking their mask off to touch up their lipstick or whatever. I mean, we wanted to be able to make sure you had outdoor space to do that. The photos inside will be in climatized, so it's air conditioned. It's a pretty blank space. What's nice is the lighting can be changed, and also the photographer's equipment can impact the lighting. But I'll say that the wall color is pretty bright bland in a way, like, if you know what I mean, like bright grayish white. So I'm not certain how much we can do with backdrops. Emily, do you know if the photographer has that in her gear kit?
I'd have to ask Sarah. I think she was going to try and bring one or two different color backdrops, maybe like a darker gray, but I'm not certain on that.
So we're going to look, the photo's going to have more of that, like all of the photos that you were showing, Emily, there was like this green natural background. But so this is going to look a little bit more corporate.
Yes, this would
With
be a solid color background.
Yeah, that's, okay. And which is actually not what I want to convey so much with my business.
Remind everyone what you do, Rosalie, because I know.
Well, I have a small business called New Orleans Green, and I do sustainably sourced artwork in the form of jewelry, home decor, and potted plants. So it's very much more, but kind of not, I want to kind of do that professional but casual kind of a look.
I would suggest, coming tomorrow, taking the picture, putting it, do you have a website?
Yeah.
Okay. Put it on there and kind of work around that and play with it and see kind of what format you'd want, and eventually get a professional photographer to take those photos of you that you really want. But yeah, just use it kind of as a jumping off point, I would say. And I would suggest wearing green, a green shirt.
Right.
can I chime in? Right. On that same note, do you have a branded shirt or collar shirt with your logo? I think the most I'm sorry.
No, but
I think the most important thing would be it's not necessarily the background, but it's you. And so, how you style your hair that day, what you choose to wear that day, the attire is what's really going to sell either that corporate, that casual, or that in-between look. So you may want to play around with a couple of outfits. Maybe, if you have someone on your team or a family member who can maybe provide feedback to you, then that may be a great starting point. And also knowing what's your color, like Emily said, green would be ideal because it will connect with the branding of your business and that name. It will make that mental connection. But also when you take your photos, are there colors that work well with you? Typically, if there's a certain color that you wear and every time you wear it, people say, oh, that looks nice on you. Like, what's your color? So sometimes knowing those things can help as well for your wardrobe.
Right. Thank you. That's helpful. And so will the shots be like at the head, or will they be more where they're showing, your torso a little bit?
I would think it'll probably be bust area.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Okay.
I would think so.
I think we can go down a little. There's different heights of chairs, I think, or stools that we can kind of move
Right.
around. So we might be able to be a little flexible.
Okay.
I think
Alright.
too, what's great and everything that we've talked about today is how you can use a different shot for different things. So, you know, when we were talking earlier about Naita's client who was, you know, saying this is this beautiful picture and I can't wait to use it. And then y'all decided, okay, but now's not the time. What's great is then you don't have to worry later about a picture that it is the time for, you know, it's suddenly you're speaking to a room of 500 and you want something that's a little more, you know, because I've been in a room before with someone where very much that person's reputation is why I was there. And then they pulled kind of threw a curveball and said, I bet you don't know I'm studying to be a sommelier, you know, and then they have this picture of themselves, a very serious person, a lobbyist, kind of like a policy person. Mm-hmm. And then having that picture of her drinking wine was just like, it was this icebreaker for people like, oh, she's got this goal totally unrelated to being this Washington insider. So, you know, she's not going to use that for other things but that. And it knocks it out of the park.
Right. You definitely want to have a variety of photos. Like for some reason, if somebody came to you, Rosalie, and was like, I would like to interview you for an article, do you have just a headshot of you? You don't want to send them a full-length photo of you in a garden, because if they're posting it online, they might need something that's really typed in.
Something else to think about, Rosalie, is brand for the audience that you want to communicate to at this particular stage. And I know sometimes we have multiple, you know, our client base may be tiered, but there may be a priority for one particular audience. And I'll use an analogy of an NBA player. And so on one end, we have to imagine that when that NBA player goes in to talk to those corporate sponsors, that particular audience, he may be in a suit. But the general image of that NBA player is he suited up in his NBA gear for the fans, and he's on the court. And typically, you know, there are images of Zion Williamson throughout New Orleans, and we lost her, but I think she got the point.
Oh. Can I ask real quick? I'm not signed up for tomorrow. And you said there's still spots?
There are, yeah. We have a couple of slots that we held aside, and they go to members first. So yeah, would this be for you, Lisa?
Are we a member?
Yes, you are. And would this be specifically for you?
Yeah.
Not multiple people, Lisa. Not the group, right? Just you. Yeah. Well, I can communicate offline. I'll send you the two. I think there's 2 times that are open.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
So we're so happy that we all got our questions answered and that this worked out the way it did, and that folks can use this information for the photos that are taken tomorrow, or photos they have, or photos that I have like at my fingertips and I have repeatedly forgotten to associate with my Zoom, so that when I'm not here, nothing comes up, just like Rita said. That's me, I'm guilty. And I wanted to just remind everyone that we're member supported, and we're happy to do this as a one-time member benefit to provide a photo at these group events, not anything custom at a business location, but at an event we just haven't been able to have these group events. And so hopefully we'll have more for those who have additional needs. Ada, can you remind us how people can contact you before we go?
I'll drop it in the chat. My email
as in me.
at envisionscommunications.com.